Heart echo shows failure, but her spirit refused to quit. The golden rays of dawn filtered through the Venetian blinds of the ICU, casting striped shadows across the sterile white walls. Victoria Chen, once the commanding presence in boardrooms across 3 continents, lay motionless on the hospital bed, her chest rising and falling in rhythm with the ventilator. The woman who had built a tech empire worth $4.2 billion now fought a different kind of battle, one where quarterly reports and market shares meant nothing. Marcus Chen sat beside her, his Armani suit wrinkled from 3 sleepless nights. His hand trembled as it held hers, careful to avoid disturbing the 4 lines that snaked across her pale skin. The monitors behind him beeped steadily, each sound a reminder that his wife was still here, still fighting. "Mr. Chen?" Dr. Raman's voice was gentle but firm as she entered the room, tablet in hand. "We have the results from this morning's echocardiogram." Marcus didn't look up. He couldn't. The past 6 months had been a cascade of devastating news, each diagnosis worse than the last. Stage 4 ovarian cancer, metastasis to the liver. And now, complications affecting her heart, the very organ that had driven her relentless ambition for 43 years. "Tell me," he whispered, his voice cracking. Dr. Raman sat down across from him, her dark eyes filled with a kind of compassion that comes from delivering bad news too many times. "The echo shows significant heart failure. The chemotherapy, combined with the cancer's progression, has weakened her cardiac function considerably. Her ejection fraction is down to 28%. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Marcus finally looked up, his eyes red-rimmed and hollow. "What does that mean? In plain terms? It means her heart is functioning at less than half its normal capacity. The cancer treatment is keeping her alive, but it's also destroying her heart. We're caught between 2 impossible choices." Marcus stood abruptly, walking to the window. Below, the city Victoria had conquered buzzed with its usual morning chaos. Somewhere in one of those glass towers, her company was operating without her for the first time in 2 decades. Her absence had sent shockwaves through the industry, though they'd managed to keep the true severity of her condition from the media. "There has to be another option," he said, his reflection in the glass showing a man aged 10 years and 6 months. "There is one," Dr. Raman said carefully. "We could reduce the chemotherapy dosage. It would give her heart a chance to recover, but the cancer would advance faster." "Yes." Marcus turned back to face his wife. Victoria, the woman who had pitched her first startup idea in a garage at 22, who had faced down hostile takeovers and corporate espionage, who had been named Time magazine's Person of the Year. The same woman who had held their stillborn daughter 12 years ago and somehow found the strength to keep going. The woman who, even in the depths of grief, had channeled her pain into building a foundation that had provided health care to millions of underprivileged children across Asia. "She would want to fight," Marcus said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Mr. Chen, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've learned that fighting doesn't always mean more treatment. Sometimes it means choosing quality over quantity. Your wife is sedated now, but when we wake her, if we wake her, she'll be in considerable pain. The question is, what would she want?" Marcus sat back down, his head in his hands, a mirror image of the pose captured in countless photographs of Victoria during difficult board meetings. "I don't know anymore. The woman I married would have said to throw everything at it, consequences be damned. But the woman who held my hand last week and told me she was tired, I don't know what she would choose." The monitor's beeping seemed to grow louder in the silence that followed. Dr. Raman stood to leave but paused at the door. "There's something else you should know. Last week, before we had to sedate her, Mrs. Chen asked to speak with me privately. She gave me a letter. She said I should give it to you when the time came to make difficult decisions." She pulled an envelope from her white coat pocket and placed it on the bedside table. Marcus stared at it as if it were a cobra ready to strike. After Dr. Raman left, Marcus sat frozen, unable to reach for the letter. Outside, the sun climbed higher, and the hospital began its daily rhythm. Nurses changed shifts. Families arrived with flowers and hope. Somewhere, a baby was being born while elsewhere, someone was taking their last breath. Finally, as the clock struck 9, Marcus opened the envelope with shaking hands. "My dearest Marcus, If you're reading this, it means my body is failing faster than my spirit can compensate. I'm sorry for that. Sorry that you have to make impossible choices. Sorry that I'm not strong enough to make them myself. You know me. You know I've never backed down from a challenge. I've fought hostile boards, market crashes, and every man who ever told me I didn't belong in the room. But this fight is different. This enemy doesn't care about my determination or my intelligence or my bank account. I'm tired, my love. Not of living, never of living, but of this half-life where every breath is a battle and every day is measured in morphine doses and blood counts. I've spent the last 6 months thinking about what matters, and I've realized something. I've won enough battles. I've built enough empires. What I want now is to be present for whatever time I have left. Don't let them destroy my heart trying to save my life. If the echo shows failure, I want you to know that I'm not afraid. My heart has already succeeded in its most important mission. It loved you completely, and that's enough. Reduce the treatment. Let me wake up. Let me be Victoria again, even if it's just for a little while. I want to see the sunset from our bedroom window. I want to tell you stories about our daughter. I want to laugh at your terrible jokes one more time. I want to live, Marcus, not just survive. I know this is an impossible burden to place on you, but you're the only one I trust to honor what I truly want. Not what the doctors think is best, not what the shareholders would prefer, not what looks good on paper. What I want. And what I want is to spend my remaining days as myself, not as a battlefield where medicine wars with disease. I love you. I've loved you since the day you walked into that pitch meeting and asked the only question that mattered. And I'll love you long after my heart stops trying. All my love, Victoria P.S. Tell Dr. Rahman to proceed with the palliative care plan we discussed. She'll know what I mean. Marcus read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down his face. When he finally looked up, he saw Victoria's eyelids flutter. The sedation was wearing off. He pressed the call button for Dr. Rahman, then took his wife's hand in both of his. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm here, and I understand. We're going to do this your way." Victoria's eyes opened slowly, confused and unfocused at first, then clearing as they found his face. Her lips moved, but no sound came out around the breathing tube. "Don't try to talk," Marcus said, stroking her hair. "I got your letter. We're going to reduce the treatment. You're going to come home." Something remarkable happened then. Despite the tubes, despite the pain, despite everything, Victoria Chen smiled. It was weak and brief, but it was unmistakably her smile, the one that had charmed investors and intimidated competitors. The one that had made Marcus fall in love with her 20 years ago. Dr. Rahman entered and saw the understanding that had passed between husband and wife. She nodded and began making notes on her tablet. "How long?" Marcus asked quietly. "With palliative care? Maybe weeks, possibly a few months. But she'll be awake. She'll be herself." Marcus looked back at Victoria, whose eyes were already closing again, exhausted from even that brief moment of consciousness. "That's all she ever wanted," he said. "To be herself, until the very end." As the medical team began the process of adjusting Victoria's treatment plan, Marcus remained at her side, holding her hand. Outside, the world continued its relentless pace. Stock markets opened, deals were made, empires rose and fell. But in that ICU room, time moved differently. Each heartbeat was a victory. Each breath was a choice. Victoria Chen's heart echo might have shown failure, but her spirit, that indomitable force that had built something from nothing and changed the world in the process, refused to quit. Not on fighting, but on living. And sometimes knowing the difference is the bravest thing of all.